The sky above the ruined city was painted with streaks of plasma fire, each bolt tearing through the night with an unnatural glow. The scent of charred metal and burned flesh clung to the air, heavy and suffocating. The battlefield, once a thriving human outpost, was now little more than a graveyard of collapsed buildings and shattered defenses. Captain Andrew Hudson crouched behind the wreckage of a downed transport vehicle, his pulse steady despite the chaos surrounding him. The Galactic Empire's assault had been relentless, and Earth's forces were hanging on by a thread. The enemy soldiers, clad in iridescent armor that pulsed with energy, moved with an arrogance that came from knowing they were superior in technology, firepower, and numbers. Their energy shields flickered briefly as they walked, repelling stray bullets with ease. A booming voice crackled through the ruined city, its source a hovering warship that loomed above like a predatory bird. "Earthlings," the voice sneered, dripping with contempt. "Your resistance is nothing but the last gasps of a dying species. Your weapons are relics. Your tactics are primitive. You fight like insects scurrying in the dirt, and yet you believe you can challenge the might of the Galactic Empire." General Thalvek stood atop the central tower of the remaining human base, flanked by his elite guards. His pale blue skin shimmered under the artificial lights of the Empire's war machines, and his slit-like eyes glowed with amusement. He was toying with them, and every soldier in the ruined city knew it. Andrew clenched his jaw. His rifle, a standard-issue ballistic model, felt useless against the enemy's shielding. Their bullets bounced harmlessly off the energy fields, while the Empire's plasma weapons cut through reinforced steel like paper. The battle had become a slaughter, and yet the general continued to mock them, as if the massacre wasn't enough. A figure moved beside him, silent as death. Andrew turned to see the Baba Yaga, crouched low, his sharp gaze fixed on the enemy position. Unlike the other soldiers, Baba carried himself with an unnatural stillness, his expression devoid of fear or frustration. He had been with them for weeks, though few knew much about him beyond his skill with a rifle. Baba's sniper rifle was unlike anything Andrew had ever seen. Sleek and deadly, it was customized far beyond standard human technology. The barrel was reinforced with an alloy that absorbed vibrations, and the scope glowed faintly with alien-infused optics. Where most of the soldiers had given in to despair, Baba remained unmoved. He adjusted his rifle with a methodical precision, scanning the battlefield. "You hear that?" Andrew muttered. "They think we're nothing." Baba said nothing. He pulled back the bolt on his rifle, chambering around. From the central tower, Thalvek continued his speech, reveling in his own superiority. "You still cling to your primitive weapons, your slug throwers. You believe a metal projectile can harm those who have mastered the stars? We could crush your world without ever setting foot on it. And yet here you are, still shooting, still hoping." Baba exhaled slowly. He adjusted his position, shifting ever so slightly as he lined up a shot. Andrew watched, skeptical. "You really think you can hit him? His shield will absorb." The shot rang out, a sound like the cracking of the heavens, a whisper of death slicing through the wind. The bullet traveled faster than the Empire's sensors could detect. It bypassed the energy field as though it wasn't there, shattering the holographic projector on the side of the warship. Sparks erupted from the ruined device, and Thalvek visibly flinched, his confident sneer flickering into something else, something closer to shock. For the first time, the aliens hesitated. The silence that followed was unnatural. Even the human soldiers, battered and outgunned, had frozen, their eyes locked onto the impossible sight before them. A second shot followed, this time aimed lower. It struck an enemy officer square in the forehead, bypassing his shield entirely. He crumpled without a sound, his body collapsing into the dust. Now the panic began. The once arrogant alien warriors stumbled backward, their shields suddenly worthless. They scanned the ruined buildings frantically, their keen vision unable to pinpoint where the shots had come from. Their armor, their shields, useless. Andrew's breath caught in his throat. He had never seen anything like it. "How the hell?" he whispered. Baba chambered another round, his face unreadable. They thought they were untouchable. He fired again. Another alien fell. The enemy forces, once an unstoppable tide, were suddenly on the defensive. The warship's engines roared to life, lifting higher into the sky as if to put distance between itself and this unknown threat. Thalvek's voice, so confident mere moments ago, now carried an edge of uncertainty. "Impossible," he muttered. "No human weapon can." Another shot rang out. The Empire's tactical officer, who had been relaying commands, was struck dead where he stood. A clean, perfect shot, center mass. Now it was chaos. The aliens scrambled for cover. Their shimmering shields, once thought impenetrable, now seemed nothing more than decorative baubles. Thalvek's guards surrounded him, their postures tense, their faces betraying fear. The general's expression hardened. "This is a trick," he spat. "A desperate trick. The humans cannot have a weapon that penetrates our shields. Find the sniper. Kill him." But Baba Yaga had already moved. Andrew turned, but Baba was gone, disappearing into the ruins like a ghost. The battlefield was shifting. The tide was turning, if only slightly. The mighty Galactic Empire, in all its technological supremacy, had just encountered something it had never anticipated. Fear. For the first time, they had seen one of their own die to a human weapon. And for the first time, they did not know why. The soldiers of Earth, once fighting on the edge of despair, found a new resolve. If one bullet could kill an untouchable, then perhaps all was not lost. Andrew gripped his rifle, feeling a surge of hope where there had been none. The war wasn't over. Not yet. The air was thick with tension. The once invincible forces of the Galactic Empire had tasted something foreign to them: uncertainty. The battle had not ended, but the very nature of the conflict had changed. Their shields, their advanced armor, the very foundation of their technological superiority had been violated, and the man responsible had vanished into the ruins like a phantom. Baba Yaga moved with practiced silence, weaving through the shattered remains of what had once been a thriving human settlement. The charred skeletons of buildings cast long, jagged shadows under the glow of the Empire's searchlights. The enemy was scouring the ruins now, determined to find the sniper who had made them bleed. Their soldiers, once assured of their invulnerability, now moved in tight formations, their weapons scanning every dark corner. He reached a vantage point, settling against the remnants of a collapsed communications tower. His breath was steady, his pulse measured. He had made his move, and now the Empire was forced to react. That was the game. That was the only way to turn the tide. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "Baba, where the hell are you?" Andrew, a man too stubborn to quit, too pragmatic to believe in miracles. Baba let the silence stretch for a moment before responding. "Moving." "You just turned an entire alien army into a panic-stricken mess," Andrew said, his tone somewhere between disbelief and admiration. "I don't know how, and I'm not sure I want to, but they're scrambling. Their leadership is pissed. Thalvek put a bounty on you." Baba continued scanning the battlefield below. "How much?" "High enough that their elite hunters are coming for you." Baba Yaga allowed himself the smallest smirk. "Good. Let them come." Below, the alien forces were shifting. Thalvek had adapted. They were no longer walking arrogantly into the kill zone. Now, they moved like hunters, calculated, methodical. And at the center of it all, Thalvek himself had retreated into the belly of his warship, issuing orders from behind layers of reinforced shielding. Coward. Baba adjusted his rifle, peering through the scope. He could see the enemy officers communicating with their ground teams. They spoke in their guttural, clicking language, their alien hands moving over advanced holodeck displays, scanning for any sign of him. The war had changed. What had been a one-sided massacre had now become something else entirely, a hunt. He dismantled his rifle piece by piece, stowing it in a modified pack. He would not fire again from the same position. That was what they expected. Instead, he moved. Slow, precise, controlled. He traversed through the ruins, stepping only where the debris was stable, avoiding places where the rubble would shift and betray his location. A low hum filled the air. The Empire's aerial drones had been deployed. They hovered like silent predators, scanning the ruins with high-frequency scanners designed to detect heat signatures. Baba exhaled. They were adapting faster than expected. He pressed against the remains of a collapsed bridge, watching the drones sweep past. He waited, muscles coiled, until the nearest one drifted just close enough. With a single measured movement, he leaped up, catching the undercarriage of the drone. He hung there for 3 seconds, long enough for his device to sync, disrupting its detection system. The drone twitched, its sensors failing, and Baba let go, landing silently back into the rubble as the machine spiraled off course. He moved again. The Empire would not stop. They had underestimated humanity once, but now they were adjusting. Thalvek had learned that brute force would not suffice. Now, the real battle was beginning. Baba reached his secondary position, settling in the shadows of what had once been an armory. He retrieved his rifle and began his work. Modifications. The weapon he wielded was unlike anything else on Earth. It was no longer just a sniper rifle. It was something new, a fusion of human precision and alien ingenuity. He had salvaged parts from the wreckage of downed Empire vessels, reverse engineering their power sources, integrating their shielding technology in ways the Empire itself had never considered. He had spent years refining it in secret, a weapon that should not exist. And now, it was time for its next evolution. He removed the barrel casing, inserting a modified coil that amplified kinetic force. He adjusted the chamber, reinforcing it with a dampening field that reduced recoil to near zero. The ammunition, specially designed tungsten rounds laced with a destabilizing energy core, was fed into the magazine, each bullet a weapon designed to break the very laws of physics. The Empire had technology that could move faster than light, shields that could withstand planetary bombardments. But all of their advancements were built around countering energy-based weaponry. They had never considered a simple projectile, a bullet, could be their undoing. Baba checked his watch. The enemy was adapting. But so was he. A flicker of movement caught his eye. A group of Empire soldiers, moving in formation. They were sweeping through the ruins now, searching for him. Their armor, sleek and layered with active camouflage, shimmered as they moved. Not grunts. These were specialists. He took a slow breath. 1 shot, maybe 2, before they would scatter. He aimed. Adjusted for wind, distance, target movement. Exhaled. Fired. The lead soldier dropped, the bullet piercing his armor and igniting the energy pack on his back. The explosion sent his squad mates sprawling. Before they could react, another shot followed, the second specialist collapsing before he could activate his distress beacon. The remaining 2 scattered, vanishing into the ruins. Baba moved again. His radio crackled. Andrew's voice was lower now. Urgent. You need to get out. Now. Baba kept moving. Why? They're escalating. A pause. Then, Thalvek just gave the order for a planetary bombardment. Baba's pace quickened. Thalvek was done playing games. If he couldn't find the sniper, he would level everything instead. The warship's engines were powering up, preparing for an orbital strike. Baba reached the highest point in the ruins, positioning himself carefully. The warship loomed above, its cannons shifting into position. He tightened his grip on the rifle. This was no longer about the battle below. Thalvek believed he was untouchable. Baba intended to prove otherwise. He exhaled and fired. The round tore through the night, faster than sound itself. It struck the warship's main sensor array, a critical weak point in the Empire's targeting systems. Sparks erupted as the ship shuddered violently, its weapons veering off course. The bombardment had been stopped, for now. But Baba knew this was far from over. The real fight was just beginning. The Galactic Empire had ruled with an iron fist for centuries, crushing resistance before it could take root, obliterating civilizations that dared to defy them. They had never known fear until now. The moment Baba Yaga's bullet tore through their warship's main sensor array, something shifted. The aura of invincibility the Empire had wrapped itself in had been ripped away. For the first time, they were not the predators. They were the prey. Thalvek's personal warship trembled in the night sky, its damaged targeting systems struggling to recalibrate. The planned planetary bombardment had stalled, leaving the Empire's ground forces without the overwhelming fire support they had come to rely upon. More importantly, the psychological effect had been devastating. The soldiers below had looked to the skies for salvation. Now they saw only failure. Yet the Empire did not surrender. It adapted. From the wreckage of a collapsed structure, Baba observed the battlefield with meticulous patience. The patterns of the enemy's movements had changed. Where before they had moved with overconfidence, spreading their forces thin in pursuit of an enemy they believed beneath them, now they were concentrated, methodical. Their patrols were tighter, their formations disciplined. A counterattack was coming. Then he saw them. A new unit had arrived. 5 figures moved through the ruins with inhuman precision, their advanced armor shifting like liquid metal, adapting to their surroundings. These were not standard soldiers. They were something else, something built for this kind of warfare. The Tal Shuri, Empire hunters, elite killers trained in the art of assassination, deployed only when a single target needed to be eliminated with absolute certainty. They did not fight wars, they ended them. Baba's eyes narrowed. He had expected this. The Empire would never allow an unknown factor to exist without trying to erase it. He adjusted his position, his breathing controlled, his mind calculating. A voice came through his earpiece, low and urgent. "Baba, you seeing this?" "Andrew." Baba watched the Tal Shuri move, their coordination flawless. "I see them." Andrew exhaled sharply. "They're not just looking for you. They're hunting you. This is different." Baba remained silent for a moment. He studied their movements, their patterns. Each carried a unique weapon. One held a long-barreled plasma rifle, another a pair of energy blades that pulsed with an eerie blue glow. One of them, moving with unsettling fluidity, carried no visible weapon at all. The leader, clad in a deep crimson variant of the adaptive armor, paused and scanned the ruins, as if sensing Baba's presence. They were hunting by instinct. He had to move, but not away. Not yet. The Tal Shuri spread out, their formation tightening. They knew he was here. Baba reached into his pack, retrieving a small device, a crude but effective electromagnetic disruptor, rigged together from scavenged alien tech. He activated it, tossing it into the rubble ahead of him. The moment it pulsed, the Tal Shuri reacted. The one with the plasma rifle turned first, raising his weapon, but Baba was already moving. One shot. The round struck just beneath the assassin's helmet, where the adaptive armor was weakest. The force of the impact sent the body crumpling into the dust. 3 seconds. That was all the time he had before the others responded. Baba sprinted, ducking behind cover, just as a barrage of plasma fire erupted in his wake. The energy bolts hissed against the ruins, superheating metal, and sending molten fragments into the air. A whisper of movement. A shadow at his flank. Baba spun, raising his rifle just in time to block a descending strike. The blade wielder was fast, faster than humanly possible. Their energy sword hissed as it struck the reinforced casing of Baba's rifle, sparks flying from the impact. The assassin followed up with a second slash, fluid and deadly. Baba shifted his weight, dodging at the last second. The blade carved through the air, missing his throat by inches. He fired mid-movement, the point-blank shot colliding with the assassin's shoulder. The impact sent them stumbling back, but the armor absorbed the brunt of the damage. Not enough. Baba kicked forward, using the moment of imbalance. His boot connected with the assassin's chest, sending them sprawling backward. He didn't hesitate. Another shot. This time, he aimed for the unarmored gap at the neck. The assassin's body slumped. 2 down. The remaining 3 moved in perfect sync, their approach relentless. One of them, weaponless, raised a hand. Baba's vision blurred. A sudden, suffocating pressure filled the air. His limbs locked, his breath caught in his throat. A psionic. The Empire's experiments with neural enhancement had led to the creation of a rare breed of warriors capable of bending reality itself. His rifle felt heavier. His thought slowed. The psionic assassins stepped closer, tilting their head as they examined him, as if puzzled that a mere human had caused so much damage. Then a gunshot. Not his. The psionic's head snapped back, a clean bullet hole between the eyes. The body crumpled. Baba sucked in a sharp breath as the pressure released. He turned. In the distance, perched atop the skeletal remains of an old transmission tower, Andrew lowered his rifle. "Got your back," the captain muttered. The remaining two assassins hesitated. That was all the advantage Baba needed. He moved faster than thought, repositioning as the leader raised a gauntlet hand. A shimmer of energy surrounded the assassin, their armor shifting into an even more resilient form. Baba didn't aim for the armor. He aimed for the ground beneath them. The shot struck the unstable foundation of the ruins. The weakened structure groaned, then collapsed entirely, sending the leader tumbling into the debris. The final assassin lunged. Baba twisted, grabbing a fallen plasma blade from the ground. As the assassin swung, he parried. A move too fast, too precise. The alien hesitated for the briefest moment. Baba drove the blade through the assassin's chest. The fight was over. He exhaled, stepping back as the last body fell. The Talsheri were dead. Above, the warship was regaining stability. The Empire would not accept this humiliation. They would escalate. Andrew's voice crackled in his earpiece. "They'll be sending everything they've got now." Baba wiped the blood from his blade, eyes fixed on the warship. Good. The Empire had set the rules of this war. Now Baba was rewriting them. The hunt had turned against the hunters, and the real war was about to begin. The warship loomed in the night sky, its sleek form cutting through the darkness like a dagger poised above a dying world. It had recovered from the earlier damage, its stabilizers humming with renewed energy. The Galactic Empire had reached its breaking point. The humiliation of their finest warriors, falling to a single man, had shattered their arrogance, leaving them with only one course of action: annihilation. Baba Yaga stood atop the ruins of a fallen skyscraper, his rifle resting against a shoulder. His breath was steady, his pulse an unbroken rhythm of controlled focus. Below, the remnants of Earth's resistance held their positions, watching the sky with a mix of defiance and dread. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "Andrew, they're charging up the main cannon." His tone was tight, urgency laced with an edge of helplessness. "Orbital-grade energy weapon. They're done playing games, Baba. They're going to wipe this entire sector." Baba's grip on his rifle tightened. He had expected escalation, but this was beyond anything the Empire had attempted before. This wasn't just retaliation, it was erasure. A warning to any who dared to resist. He could almost hear Thalvek's voice, dripping with contempt. "If we cannot rule them, we will burn them." The warship's cannon began to glow, its core pulsing with a growing, sickly red light. The countdown had started. Minutes, maybe less, until everything below was reduced to ash. Baba dropped to one knee, setting his rifle into position. The weapon had evolved beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Each modification, each piece of alien technology he had integrated, had been for this moment. He had no margin for error. Andrew's voice came again. "Tell me you've got a plan." Baba exhaled, steadying his hands. One shot. A beat of silence. Then Andrew swore. "You're insane." Baba peered through the scope, adjusting for distance, wind, and the faint gravitational pull of the warship's engines. The shot had to be perfect. No more than perfect. It had to be impossible. The target, the ship's reactor core. It was buried deep within the hull, protected by layers of armor, electromagnetic shielding, and redundant security measures. No conventional weapon could reach it. But Baba's rifle was no longer conventional. He inhaled, focused. His finger rested on the trigger. Then movement. Through his scope, he saw Thalvek. The alien general stood on the warship's command deck, gazing down at the battlefield with his hands clasped behind his back. His expression was unreadable, but Baba knew what he was thinking. Superiority. Finality. He was watching the last moments of Earth's resistance. Baba exhaled slowly. The target hadn't changed. But the shot had. 1 bullet. 2 kills. He adjusted his aim, recalibrating in real time. The warship's reactor was still the priority, but if he timed it perfectly, if he placed the shot at exactly the right angle, he wouldn't just destroy the core. He would kill Thalvek first. His finger pressed down. The bullet left the chamber, a whisper of death streaking through the night. It traveled faster than the Empire's sensors could register, cutting through the void like a comet. It hit the command deck's transparent shielding, and for a fraction of a second, the Empire's arrogance held strong. Then the shield shattered. The round tore through Thalvek's chest before he could react, his body seizing as alien blood sprayed across the deck. His eyes, wide with disbelief, locked onto the battlefield below, onto the man who had just rewritten the fate of this war. Baba watched through the scope as the general collapsed, his reign ending in silence. But the bullet didn't stop. It kept traveling, burrowing through reinforced alloy, cutting through energy fields that had never been breached. The warship's reactor core, hidden behind layers of armor, met the round head-on and ruptured. For a single deafening moment, the night became day. The explosion bloomed outward in a wave of fire and raw energy, consuming the command deck, the warship, and every soldier still aboard. The shockwave roared across the battlefield, a storm of metal and flame that tore through the Empire's remaining forces. Their leader was gone, their flagship obliterated, and with it their will to fight. The remaining soldiers hesitated, their formations breaking. Some stood frozen, staring in disbelief at the flaming wreckage that had once been the heart of their invasion. Others turned and ran, abandoning their posts, discarding their weapons as panic took hold. The mighty Galactic Empire, for the first time in its history, was in full retreat. Andrew's voice returned, but this time it was softer. Disbelieving. You actually did it. Baba stood, his rifle still warm in his hands. He looked out over the battlefield, watching as the remnants of Earth's resistance surged forward, seizing the moment. The impossible had been made real. Andrew chuckled, a sound filled with relief and awe. You just took down a warship with a sniper rifle. Baba didn't respond. He simply dismantled his rifle piece by piece, placing each part back into his pack. The war wasn't over. Not completely. The Empire would come back. They always did. But when they did, they would remember this night. They would remember Baba Yaga, and they would know fear.